Hey everyone, great to connect with you again today. I look forward to seeing you in our worship services this Sunday, either outdoors, indoors, or streaming. I do want to remind you that our outdoor service time is changing this week from 8:45 to 8:30. And we're doing this as in preparation for the resumption of the discipleship hour between services that will start in a couple of weeks. The indoor streaming service will continue at 11 o'clock. So this week we'll be outdoors 8:30, indoor streaming at 11. And I'll be preaching from Leviticus 16, thinking about the holy life of grace. If you've ever flown, you know the experience of boarding the plane. The moment these words, ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready to board flight 757 to Honolulu, are spoken, everyone seated around the great gate grabs their stuff and starts lining up. Of course, the problem with this is that if everyone tries to board all at one time, it's just mass chaos. So typically, the airline agent announces that boarding will commence, and then he or she immediately adds, "We will start with rows 1 to 5, in an attempt to bring some order into the chaos." And sometimes, the agents start the boarding process even differently. Dan Wilt, talking about his experience, says, "My favorite moment is when the person over the loudspeaker says, 'We're now boarding families with children.' The parents, with relief in their eyes, he says, begin to come forward. Nobody faults anyone else for letting the families go first. He said, 'I don't see fellow passengers asking to see the family's boarding passes. The children are either sweetly smiling, tucked close to a parent's chest, wandering the full length, arm's length of a distressed parent, or wailing in practice for the long performance ahead.'" And then he says, sometimes the things we think are the most important, like us getting a seat in sync with our boarding pass number, can get in the way of a higher priority, making sure families among us are settled and at peace first. We will all benefit in the end, but our sense of propriety, fairness, even justice may kick in and distort our ability to see the higher value right in front of us. I think that Paul is hinting at this idea in the church when he writes in Romans 14, "Accept each other believers who are weak in faith, and don't argue with them about what they think is right or wrong. For we don't live for ourselves or die for ourselves. If we live, it's to honor the Lord. If we die, it's to honor the Lord. So then let us aim for harmony in the church and try to build each other up." The Christians in Rome are struggling with divisiveness about how they practice their faith, and particularly as their life practice affects other believers. And Paul says that the most important thing is not to prove who's right or wrong, or to make a case for doing whatever we want to do. The most important thing is to consider the needs of others, particularly those who are struggling the most. And even more particularly, people who may have needs and struggles that we may not have. Or perhaps people we feel should be further along than we think they are. So to come back to the airport gate, instead of being frustrated that people with small children need more time to board and get settled, instead of thinking, or perhaps even saying, that people with little children shouldn't be allowed to fly, or complaining because you paid for privileged boarding, we remember that there was a time when we were trying to do what they're doing. And even if that's never been our experience, we still recognize that a time will come when, in one way or another, the roles are going to be reversed. But Paul's solution is even more than do unto others as you would have them do unto you. As important as that is, his solution is give up your rights. Be patient and kind. Do whatever you need to do to work for harmony and unity and shalom in the church. And instead of tearing others down who aren't what you want them to be, build each other up. Encourage each other. Be there for one another. In other words, treat others with the kind of grace with which God treats you. As Dan Wilt points out, it's not that God doesn't care about you and me and our concerns and needs. God cares about your boarding pass number. He cares that we booked early so we could get a good place in line. Well done when we do that. But sometimes a more important value, a higher ideal, steps in and assigns other practices a different place in line. Sometimes the families need to go first. Or to put it in the context of Romans 14, sometimes others and their needs just need to be honored above our own. The interesting thing about all of this is that this mindset doesn't cause us to feel slighted. Actually, it releases us to experience freedom and the joy of God's well done. And we discover that it's one more way in which we prepare our hearts for God to make us holy, like himself. Father, forgive our impatience with each other. Open our eyes to see others the way you see us. And in this godly vision, fill us with love, joy, grace, and compassion that not only helps others and us, but creates peace and harmony among your people. Amen. Thanks again for joining me. Have a wonderful day.